Hey everyone, Nubkeks here, and in today's video we're taking a look at the Assassination Rogue on the Shadowlands beta for World of Warcraft. We've made it! This is the final class in our Spec deep dive series. I can't believe it. It's been a wild ride. I really hope that you've enjoyed the series so far. Of course, we'll have the final two specs. The other two Rogue specs will be coming up over the next couple of days. And yeah, do let me know what other sorts of videos you guys would like to see, like over the next, month or so going up to release. And then, of course, for the first, month or so of the expansion, where we're really diving into the whole new expansion, and there's so much to learn and to know about. So yeah, do let me know. Of course, we will be covering, stay tuned, we'll do rankings of all the different specs in the different roles. They will be some of the big flagship videos coming out. I did put up a little bonus video on Patreon for the patrons with this, because I've now looked at all the specs. I'm looking at the Rogue right now, so I just did a quick little video for them, very candid discussion of what my favorite specs and stuff were. Of course, we'll be doing a big proper video of that in another couple of weeks or so, like once the specs are even more finalized and all of that. Anyway, without any further ado though, let's dive in and let's check out Assassination Rogue. Alright guys, so here we are in game, and of course we're going to start the video, as we always do now, by just doing the going over the core rotation, the core gameplay of the Assassination Rogue. What's it all about, especially for players that are new to the spec, and considering new specs to pick up for the Shadowlands. And then, of course, you'll see in the description and in the timeline, you can find the different sections for, what's new, the Covenant abilities, new Legendaries, new talents, new Conduits, all that sort of stuff. You can find that info all there in the video. But right, let's just dive into it for the Assassination Rogue. What's it all about? So, Assassination Rogue is very much about applying bleeds and poisons to the target. One of the big things you're going to see for Assassination Rogue is poison matters for you more than any other Rogue spec. The main ones you're going to use, or the main one you really going to care about here, and the only one I'll discuss in this section, is Deadly Poison, which is going to give your attacks a 50% chance to poison the enemy for about 700 nature damage over 12 seconds, and then if they have that dot on them already, your subsequent attacks will instead do an instant 76 nature damage. So that will proc off both your weapon strikes, and you attack very, very fast with daggers. So that adds up to a nice little bit of damage, and that will synergize with several of our other abilities as well. You also have a non-lethal poison. In this case, I have my numbing poison on. Sorry, it's not my numbing poison now. It's just numbing poison, which is going to slow attack speed and casting speed. But yeah, just bear that in mind. We'll cover the poisons in the what's new section, because they have changed a little bit, right? But just, yeah, it's going to do damage. In terms of our core rotation, what we're really trying to balance here as the Assassination Rogue is we've got our energy and combo points. So a lot of specs have things like this, right? We saw this with the Feral Druid as well, and Windwalker Monk is very similar too. Energy is going to regenerate very quickly, and we're going to spend our energy on our abilities. We're going to use combo point generating abilities to build up our combo points, and then we're going to be looking to spend our combo points on finisher abilities. Usually about 4 to 5 combo points is going to be the range for using a finisher. So let's look at some of the things we've got going on. Garrots or Garrotes, I'm not sure how to pronounce it actually. That's pretty bad. Anyway, but this is one of your most important generators. Okay, so this has a 6-second cooldown. This costs 45 energy, and you're going to garrote the enemy, doing about 2,000 bleed damage over 18 seconds, and this is going to generate 1 combo point. So in single target, you're going to want to maintain garrote up at all times. In AoE, you're going to try to garrote as many targets as you can. Every 6 seconds, try to get on a new target. It's a very good source of damage, and also it does tie in, I should mention this now, to a passive you have, which is going to boost up your energy generation, where whenever you do damage with garrote or rupture is our finisher bleed. If you do damage with them to a poison target, you're going to generate more energy, so that really fuels up your energy in AoE in particular. Now, we do have a spammable combo point generator. That's Mutilate. This is what you're just going to spam when in single target when Garrote is already on the target. So it costs 50 energy. You attack with both weapons. You do a total of 580, about 600 physical damage, and it gives you 2 combo points. A new returning ability from Stealth is called Ambush, which has the same energy cost as Mutilate. That's going to do about 1,300 physical damage and give 2 combo points. So it does just over twice as much damage as Mutilate, but you can only use it from Stealth. And also another passive to point out now, which is very important as well, is a passive called Seal Fate, where whenever you critically strike with a melee attack that generates combo points, you gain an additional combo point per critical strike. So that's kind of unique for, this has a unique interaction with Mutilate, because with Mutilate you attack with both weapons at the same time, you will get an extra combo point for each one of those weapons that crits. So if you have no crits, you'll get 2 combo points at Mutilate. If one of the weapons crits, you get 3. But if both of your weapons crit, you're going to get 4 combo points from Mutilate, which is obviously a ton of combo points. Ambush, in contrast, although it does double the damage, or over double the damage, will only give you between 2 or 3 combo points if it crits, of course. Still probably worth using Ambush, I think. Likely that's going to be the tuning. It's going to be worth using it out of stealth, probably. There's a couple of conduits that might shift you more towards Mutilate. We'll come to those later, but generally speaking, I think baseline, you probably just want to open with Ambush from stealth. Yeah. Okay, cool. We have another couple of things that also generate combo points. One thing to note from stealth, speaking of stealth, while we mentioned ambush, you do have cheap shot from stealth, which is a 4-second stun for 40 energy. It gives you 1 combo point. You have a really terrible generator, which is ranged, which is just for something to do when you're out of range of the target. 40 energy. Poison knife, 30-yard range, throw a knife, it will do 200 damage and apply your poisons and awards 1 combo point. So in particular, you know, you do have a poison crippling poison, which does a 50% slow. So, you know, if you're out of range, you're chasing someone in PvP, really, you can throw poison knives at them to apply that slowing poison and just, you know, generate at least some combo points when you're out of range. More importantly then, our AoE generator is Fan of Knives. Cost 35 energy. You'll spray knives at up to 8 targets within 10 yards, doing 300 damage, applying your active poisons at their normal rate. And that gives 1 combo point. Again, though, going back to Seal Fate, this is really important here. Seal Fate, whenever you get a crit with a combo point generating spell, you get another combo point. So if you get no crit, let's say you're fighting 8 targets. If you get no crits, you only get 1 combo point. But for every crit you get on every target that you hit, you get an additional combo point. So you could in theory only get 1 combo point from this, or you could in theory get loads. Let's see if we have any luck here. No. See, right there we got 2 because we crit, but we hit one of them with a normal hit and we crit the other one. So we got the 1 baseline, we got 1 extra for a crit. So that's sort of your, you know, that will fuel a lot of your AoE generation. Then we also have another combo point generator. I wouldn't really think of this as a generator, though. This is more of a cooldown, a mini cooldown, damage cooldown, which is Shiv. This includes the old Toxic Blade, if you're familiar with that from BFA Legion as well, I think. I don't remember if it was in WoD now. It's been a long time. But yeah, certainly from the last couple of expansions. But Shiv, 20 energy. It's going to generate a combo point. Has a 25-second cooldown, though. Does a tiny bit of damage, and you can see it. I'll cover this in the What's New section, but in this case, it's going to Soothe and Enrage effect. Or all Enrage effects. But importantly, this is going to increase the nature damage that we do to the target by 20% for 9 seconds, i.e. all of our poison damage is going to increase by 20% for 9 seconds against the target. That does tie into our first finisher here, which is Direct Damage and Venom. And again, you're going to be spending these at 4 to 5 combo points. Cost 35 energy as well. And at 5 combo points, it's going to do 1,300 nature damage. And it will also increase our poison application chance by 30% for 6 seconds. So, I mean, that sort of explains what you should do with the Shiv window. You're going to use Shiv to, again, you know, you probably do like it'd be something like this, right? We'll mutilate. Okay, I guess we'll mutilate again. We slightly overcapped there, but we're going to throw out like our Envenom. And we got parried. Believe it or not, we got parried. Here we go. We're going to try get another Envenom here in, and just barely got it. I didn't have my bleeds on, so I wasn't getting enough energy. That's my bad. But yeah, generally speaking, right, get your Shiv in, then hit them with the Envenom. You get the boosted damage. You have that increased poison application chance, which is going to pop off during the Shiv. Get your second Envenom during the Shiv. Just keep full uptime on that buff. And yeah, sorry, get 2 Envenoms in your Shiv window. Try to maintain the Envenom buff to just maximize the nature damage increase there. That's roughly speaking the idea. Then, more important than that Envenom thing, though, which is obviously good, but Rupture is even more important than that. This costs 25 energy. Combo point spender. 5 combo points is going to do a 2,700 bleed over 24 seconds. This is your most important damage dealing thing, and obviously it's going to really impact your energy generation as well. So yeah, Rupture is really, really important to maintain. Now we also have Slice and Dice. I'll cover this more in the What's New section, but Slice and Dice is another finisher you're going to maintain too. With 5 points, it's going to give you a 36-second buff that gives you 50% attack speed. So more attack speed means more poison procs and just more white damage from more melee attacks, which is good. And I think that's basically everything as part of your core rotation, core damage rotation. I'll cover the utility things next. Your major cooldown then is Vendetta, which is a 2-minute cooldown. 30-yard range. It's off the GCD now, as of the last patch on the beta, which is nice. You'll mark an enemy for death for 20 seconds. They'll take 30% more damage from your abilities and auto attacks, and you can see them through concealments like stealth and invisibility. As a bonus, it also gives you 60 energy over 3 seconds. So there's quite a lot of abilities there. It maybe sounds a bit more complicated than I think it actually is in practice. So typically speaking, we're going to go in stealth. We're obviously going to have our poisons applied, so our deadly poison, in this case, or numbing poison as well. We'll go in on this target. Again, like, I'm just giving you a basic thing here, like not including talents that and legendaries and stuff that will change this. But you'll go in, you do something like open with an ambush, do a garrote. I'll probably just slap a rupture on them then immediately. And then a little bit different from BFA, you're probably going to do like a mutilate and slap on a slice and dice. I'm not sure what the perfect opener is. Maybe just like ambush, garrote, slice and dice, then mutilate, rupture. I'm not sure. Just because you want to get your rupture and your slice and dice up as soon as possible. We're going to pop our vendetta on the target as well, so we get that bonus damage, get that energy regen to really fuel our opener. And after that, we're going to be just, pop our shiv, get an envenom, a couple of envenoms, then just simply maintain rupture, maintain garrote, maintain slice and dice, just maintain those 3 buffs, spend excess energy then with mutilate and envenom. So be something like this. Like, we'll open with this. There we go. Again, we'll put the rupture on him. We'll put slice and dice on ourselves. I'm going to pop vendetta now. I'm going to do my shiv after a couple of mutilates, and we're going to start, we'll just start pumping some damage in. Going to do another mutilate, and we're going to fire off another envenom in that toxic blade window. Going to reapply my rupture. We're actually a bit energy starved. I'm going to put on my, reapply my, my rupture there, sorry, and then I'm going to put on another slice and dice. A really weak slice and dice, but that's okay. Obviously, I'm not using Covenant abilities, etc., which would make this a little more generous. We got a little bit of a sketchy situation here where Slice and Dice and Rupture are expiring at the same time. We'll put Slice and Dice on first. And we're gonna be a little bit slow reapplying that Rupture, but there we go. It's back on now. And we're happy. And now we're simply kind of maintaining. We'll do a Shiv into an Envenom. Hit him with a Mutilate. Hit him with another Mutilate. We'll do a quick Garrote. I think we're going to be just short. No, there we go. We got our second Envenom there in the Shiv window. And that, roughly speaking, is very basically the rotation. Maintain your bleeds. Maintain your slice and dice. Vendetta basically on cooldown and blast window in. Shiv as much as you can on cooldown and try to get 2 Envenoms into your Shiv window to maximize that. Yeah, that's it. Cool. In terms of our utility abilities then, there's lots and lots of utility that you have as the... Oh, obviously, I should mention before the utility things. For AoE, I think that it's still worth using Mutilate up to like 3 or 4 targets. Once there's like 4 or 5 targets or more than that, that's when you really start going into Fan of Knives, or you can use Fan of Knives to apply poison. And again, you're gonna multi-dot with Rupture in AoE baseline. You're just gonna multi-dot with Rupture, get Rupture up on as many things as you can, spread out your Garrotes as much as you can, and you just use Fan of Knives instead of Mutilate at that number of targets. So that's basically what's happening there without talents and legendaries and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, your utility, lots of utility as a rogue, of course. So blind is a big one. I pressed blind at some point by accident, apparently. 2-minute cooldown, 15-yard range. You disorient the target for 1 minute. Damage interrupts the effect. Limit 1 target. You, of course, have a kick on a 15-second cooldown. Kidney Shot, I think I already mentioned. This is a combo point spender, a finisher with a 20-second cooldown. At 5 combo points, it's a 6-second single target stun. Of course, you now have the Shiv will either, with Numbing Poison, it will dispel all enrage effects. With Crippling Poison, it's a big slow. You have Feint. This is a 15-second cooldown energy spender that simply reduces the damage you take from area of effect attacks by 40% for 5 seconds. So very useful in like raiding and Mythic Plus and stuff for some survivability. Crimson Vial is a heal. 20 energy, heals you for 20% max health over 4 seconds with a 30-second cooldown. Your defensives then, your bigger defensives are Evasion, which gives you 100% dodge chance for 10 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown. Or Cloak of Shadows, also on a 2-minute cooldown, which will give you magic immunity, removing all harmful spell effects, and then you'll resist all harmful spells for 5 seconds. So mostly an immunity. It's a little bit weird sometimes in raids and stuff like that. Like Cloak of Shadows will protect you from some things and not others. Blizzard kind of started making it not apply to everything because it's too OP. So that's something that you obviously want to check as a rogue is, will Cloak of Shadows actually work? Will Evasion actually work on this ability or not? That's something that you have to check, sadly. For movement, you have Shadow Step, 30-second cooldown. You'll just teleport to the behind the target and gain 70% move speed for 2 seconds. Awesome. You have Sprint, 1-minute cooldown, gives you 70% move speed for 8 seconds. You have Vanish as well. This is both a defensive and offensive cooldown. You'll vanish from sight, you go into stealth in combat, yeah, you won't be knocked out of stealth for 3 seconds. Obviously, if you do an attack, it obviously knocks you out of there, but yeah, we won't be broken out of stealth for 3 seconds after you vanish. Also breaks movement impairing effects, so very powerful for PvP, and powerful for PvE as well, to get an extra stealth attack in, or drop aggro or something like that. I forgot to mention, but you do have Sap, of course, from Stealth, which is an incapacitate, lasts for 1 minute from Stealth on humanoids, beasts, demons, and dragonkin. Gets broken on damage, so a very useful thing you can provide for your team. More utility then, you have Shroud of Concealment, 6-minute cooldown in Stealth. You put out a big circle. Anyone who is in the circle also gets Stealth. This is insane for Mythic Plus. Pop this and you can skip whole mob packs with your team. They can just zip on by. Very potent, very, very strong. So that's an absolutely huge one. And you also have Tricks of the Trade, which is very useful as well. This is like a threat misdirect. 30-second cooldown. You redirect all the threat you cause to targeted party or raid member. So obviously you're healer because you're griefing them. No, obviously you're tank. So yeah, for 6 seconds, once you start doing damage, it will redirect all the threat you do to the tank. So you can use this to help your tank pull mobs, help your tank get threat at the start of a pull, all that sort of stuff. That's very nice. And yeah, then you can also pick locks, which actually can be useful in Mythic Plus. Sometimes you can open gates and things like that. And you can pickpocket mobs in the world to get a bit of extra cash. And there's some fun rogue mini games tied into that. They did mention there would be one here in Shadowlands to boost up your Crimson Vial, but that's not in the game yet. So yeah, there you are. And with that, I think that is everything, guys. I think that's pretty much everything. A very broad and expansive toolkit as the Assassination Rogue, but I think you get the core gameplay. Maintain your dots, maintain your buffs, spend combo points, do damage. It's good. All right, cool. Okay, phew. Well, that was a fairly intense rotation section. Funnily enough, I didn't think it would be that much that intense with Assassination Rogue, but when it came down to it, there's actually a lot of different abilities there. But let's talk about what's new for Assassination Rogue. So first up, Ambush. Ambush is returning as an ability that you can use from Stealth. Costs 50 energy. You'll ambush the target, doing about 1,300 physical damage, and will get 2 combo points. In comparison to Mutilate, this Mutilate does about 600 physical damage and gives 2 combo points. So Ambush does slightly over twice as much damage. Of course, with Seal Fate, Ambush can generate 2 to 3 combo points, an extra 1 if you crit. Mutilate can generate up to 4 combo points if you crit. So yeah, I think baseline, you're more likely to just use Ambush out of Stealth. But I think that is the intent. I think there's like a Conduit that could certainly change that a little bit, and some Legendaries and stuff. But just baseline, I assume you're supposed to use Ambush from Stealth. Slice and Dice also returns for the Assassination Rogue. This is a combo point spender. Costs 25 energy. And with 5 combo points, it's going to last for 36 seconds. It will give you 50% attack speed for as long as it's up, which is really cool. So obviously that works well with your poisons. You're going to proc a lot more poisons. It's just an extra thing to maintain. It's maybe a little bit to get used to on pull. Like, you've got quite a lot of stuff to set up on pull as the Assassination Rogue. Like, you go into the fight and you really want to be getting up a big rupture on the target as soon as possible. You want to get a big slice and dice on yourself as soon as possible. So certainly I think the opener for Assassination Rogue is going to adjust a little bit to try to sort of maximize those things. So it's just something to be aware of. Shiv is also returned, and this also incorporates the Toxic Blade talent, which is now gone, and it's now baked into Shiv. So this is a 25-second cooldown, costs 20 energy, does generate a combo point, like Toxic Blade did, but you attack with your Poison Blades. You'll do tiny amount of physical damage, and it will apply a concentrated form of your non-lethal poison to the target, and then the Toxic Blade effect, your nature damage done against the target is increased by 20% for 9 seconds. So really, like, this is all about, you know, getting as much envenom and poison damage into that window as you can. So it's kind of fun to see that come baseline. It's a little weird that it's locked in with Shiv. Shiv is baseline for all the rogue specs, and they just added the Toxic Blade effect on for Assassination. So it's a little bit strange that you want to use it for damage, but then you also kind of want to use it in Mythic Plus and probably for PvP as well, for the actual utility effects. This actually brings us on to the new poisons, or the poisons that you have here on the in Shadowlands. So you of course have your deadly poison, which is going to do a dot, and then subsequent applications will just do some flat nature damage. You have Wound Poison as your other lethal poison option, which is going to do smaller instant nature damage, but will also reduce all healing the target receives by 8% for 12 seconds. That stacks up to 5 times for 40% total healing reduction. For your non-lethal poisons then, which interact with Shiv, we have on right now Numbing Poison, no longer Mind Numbing Poison, but just generally speaking, numbing. So each strike will have a 50% chance of poisoning the enemy. You will cloud their mind and slow their attack and casting speeds by 15% for 10 seconds. The Shiv effect at this one is that it will dispel all enrage effects, so it's a soothe for the rogue, though on a long cooldown, and clashing a bit with Toxic Blade. With Crippling Poison, which is your other non-lethal poison, you can only have one non-lethal and one lethal on at a time. Crippling Poison is going to slow enemies' movement speed by 50% for 12 seconds. The Shiv effect will reduce their movement speed by 70% for 5 seconds. So an extra 20% slow with the Shiv effect, which isn't a huge deal, I don't think. Maybe more useful for PvP. I certainly think that Numbing Poison is extremely good. This is a big reason to bring Rogues to Mythic Plus again. Being able to reduce attack speed of all mobs that you're fighting by 15%, reducing the cast speed of all casters you're fighting by 15%. That's a massive reduction in the damage that your group is going to take. That's a massive reduction in the damage your tank is going to take from those physical auto attacks. So that's a very attractive utility thing to bring to dungeons as rogues. Because as we all know, it's a Shroud of Concealment. It's not like rogues. It's not like rogues had enough utility already. So now you've got even more. Okay, we also have some changes to your baseline abilities. One very nice thing is that Vendetta is now off the global cooldown. If I just pop it right here, no global cooldown triggered. Awesome. So that's really nice, actually. That smooths out your opener a bit, which is welcome, especially with Slice and Dice now being part of your opener. So I think this is a really cool change. Yeah, fantastic. What's not to love about that going off GCD? A slightly less awesome change is that Fan of Knives is target capped at 8 targets. I think they just increased this in the last beta patch from 5, which is good. But yeah, obviously you get that one baseline combo point from Fan of Knives, and then every crit that you get with the Fan of Knives will give another combo point. So hitting up to 8 targets, you've got a pretty good chance to get good combo points out of it. Though, again, if you're used to fighting like 10 to 15 targets sometimes, there's some really big Mythic Plus pulls, and getting guaranteed max combo points with each Fan of Knives, it's not guaranteed as much anymore, especially with like lower secondary stats at the start of the expansion. I think for the most part, it's going to be fine, though. 8 targets is pretty decent. So there you are. Cheap Shot as well has been slightly nerfed. It only gives you 1 combo point now, so that probably affects PvP more than anything. So that's your stun from stealth, your 4-second stun from stealth, only giving 1 combo point now. They also nerfed Crimson Vial, so this now only costs 20 energy. It gives you a 20% max health heal over 4 seconds, and it still has a 30-second cooldown. So that's down from, I think, 30 energy, 30% health over 6 seconds in BFA. They did talk about adding like a pickpocketing minigame where you'd be able to pickpocket ingredients to put into your Crimson Vial and give it additional effects and stuff. That's not on the beta yet. Who knows if that will actually happen? So we'll see what happens. It's possible that they'll just go, you know what, we didn't have time for that. They'll revert Crimson Vial, or they'll go, you know what, we didn't have time for that, but we're leaving Crimson Vial in the sort of lower, weaker state that it's in. I don't know. Yeah, so it's anyway, I'd say it's a little bit of a nerf. Not a major nerf, but certainly a minor nerf to that. So that's something to consider. You're also going to get some leveling perks then as you level up, which does include some of the effects I've already talked about here. So you're going to get improved poisons, rank 2, at level 52. Which is going to give you the second paragraph here in the Improved Poisons Tooltip. While stealth is active, your attacks have a 100% chance to apply your lethal and non-lethal poisons. So that's quite nice from stealth. As soon as you open from stealth, your poisons are on the target. Quite nice, just guarantees that venomous wound starts ticking. Your damage from poison starts going as soon as you go out. Getting the non-lethal poison on instantly as well is pretty good. So that's just kind of a nice thing. Oh, I forgot to mention this, but because poisons are for all the rogue specs now in Shadowlands, but use the Assassination Rogue, you get to apply your poisons to your weapon 33% faster. So once an hour, when you put your poisons on, you're going to save so much time, guys. You're going to save literal seconds over the course of the entire Shadowlands expansion applying poisons as the Assassination Rogue. Absolute game changer right there. You get at level 54 54, I think, you get Numbing Poison. And then at level 56, you get Shiv rank 2 and Slice and Dice rank 2. So Shiv rank 2 is the Toxic Blade effect. You only get that at level 56. So that the nature damage done against the target increased by 20% for 9 seconds. That's a perk at level 56. The Slice and Dice rank 2, I don't know if it works. So it's supposed to increase the Slice and Dice attack speed by an additional 20%. I think that it is supposed to just bring it to 50%. That being said, when I was checking this stuff on my lower level rogue, even without that talent, without that leveling perk, their attack speed from Slice and Dice was still saying 50%. I think it's a tooltip error. I think you're going to have a 30% attack speed Slice and Dice at below level 56, and then with the leveling perk, you're going to have a 50% attack speed one. A 70% attack speed, I think, sounds excessive, so I'm pretty sure it's supposed to be 50, so there you are. In terms of your talents, then, there are also a few little changes. Not a lot, but a few. One of the first big ones, actually, or probably the biggest change, is Blindside, right? Blindside has been reworked, and this is really good, actually. So this fits in with Ambush returning. Mutilate has a 20% chance to make your next ambush free and usable without stealth. And the chance is increased to 40% if the target's under 35% health. So this actually feels phenomenal because, number one, ambush hits really hard, twice as hard as a Mutilate, and it generates 2 combo points. So this is awesome. Yeah, it feels fantastic in your rotation because it's a big chunk of combo points. It really speeds up the pace of the spec. I think it's really, really good. It's a great upgrade. And of course, then it has a really pleasant execute effect as well. It's going to speed up your rotation again even more in execute. So I love this new version of Blindside. I think it's significantly better than the previous ones that we've had that were just undertuned. So that's competing with Elaborate Planning and with Master Poisoner. So we'll see how this stuff ends up going. Obviously, this is just a purely single target thing, or like a low target scenario. Useless if you're in an AoE scenario and you're using Fan and Eyes instead of Mutilate. But I definitely hope this one is good because it's a ton of fun to play with. So I can say that's a big thumbs up. This is a great thing on the Assassination Rogue talent tree. I guess I'm kind of hyping it up a little bit because you really don't have much else in terms of the changes. Crimson Tempest is target capped to 8 enemies now. That's worth pointing out. And then the only other major change is that Alacrity is here to replace Toxic Blade. Now that Toxic Blade is baked into Shiv. So yeah, your finishing moves have a 20% chance per combo point to give you 2% haste for 20 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. I'm fairly sure that this is going to be the go-to on this row. I think Venom Rush is terrible. Exsanguinate could be kind of good, maybe. But I suspect for most PvE content, you're probably, I would guess, just going to be grabbing Alacrity, making this rather a dead tier. So yeah, the talent tree for Assassination Rogue, obviously Blindside is really improved and it's a ton of fun. Alacrity it's not all that interesting, but it's a really good passive buff. But yeah, your talent tree is still pretty much the same as it was before, which isn't great. So a little bit disappointing there, that's for sure. All right, let's look at our Covenant abilities then. We'll look at the Kyrian Covenant abilities first. So the signature ability here is Summon Steward to get your little buddy. Hey, buddy. He's going to come over here. He's going to give me my Phial of Serenity, and this is an additional consumable that it doesn't share a cooldown with anything else. It's just an additional healing consumable. You can consume this as a 3-minute cooldown to give you 20% health back, and it removes all diseases, poisons, curses, and bleeds affecting you. Obviously, this is a signature thing, right? So this is available to everybody that's in the Kyrian Covenant. So Assassination Rogues in PvP, beware the Kyrians. They are going to be able to Phial of Serenity off your bleeds and your poisons once per 3 minutes. So that's definitely a bummer for you for PvP. However, obviously in PvE or for you yourself, this is in PvP. This is a very good effect. It's a solid heal. And removing those effects is obviously really, really nice. So yeah, I think it's a solid signature ability. However, unfortunate for the Assassination Rogue in PvP being particularly targeted by that. Little bit of a yikes, but oh well. The Covenant ability for Assassination Rogues, or sorry, for all rogue specs then, is called Echoing Reprimand. This costs 30 energy, has a 45-second cooldown, and it generates 3 combo points. You'll hit the target for about 800 arcane damage, and you extract their anima to anima charge a combo point, and your damaging finishing moves that consume the same number of combo points as your anima charge will do damage as if they consume 7 combo points. So if I hit them with this, you can see right here, my second combo point is anima charged. So if I go back here and I do a Mutilate, here we go. If I fire off an Envenom now, as you can see, it's going to do 1,800 damage. It's going to hit for 7 combo points worth of damage on that Envenom, or same thing, Rupture should do a bleed I think, for 7 as much. One thing that's definitely weird with it, it does damage as if they consume 7 combo points, but it doesn't give you the other effects. So, for example, Slice and Dice doesn't interact with it. I believe Cheap Shot doesn't interact with it. And Venom, it will do damage as if you did 7 combo points worth, but if I fired off at 3 combo points, while it will do the damage of 7 combo points if it's anima charged, it will still only give me the 3 combo points for second in Venom buff. It doesn't also scale up the buff duration, which is kind of weird and kind of counterintuitive. So I'm hoping that they might come back and just change this so that your anima charge will just give you the full effect of a 7 combo point finisher, but right now it only gives you the damage aspect as a 7 combo point thing, which is, it's a little bit disappointing for sure. It's certainly an interesting idea though. It's an interesting idea. You'll have to alter your rotation based off of where your anima charge is and try to consume it. It will never be the 1st or the 5th one. It will always be 2, 3, or 4 in the slots. Definitely a bit awkward to use as an Assassination Rogue in the sense that with Seal Fate, you don't have a ton of control over your combo points. You can never guarantee that you're going to land on a specific number of combo points because you can easily crit and get extra combo points. So that makes it a little bit awkward to use. The good news is that it does last the full 45 seconds, right? So once I fired this off, the anima charge, it lasts for 45 seconds. So you got plenty of time to actually use this. Plenty of time. It's just kind of awkward to get it to fire off when you want to. Like, if you really, really, really want to, which you probably should want to do, is like sync this up as much as possible with a Shiv and try to get an anima charged and Venom into your Shiv window. It can be quite annoying, quite frustrating and finicky to try to get that to work because, like I said, again, you could easily crit on your generators and go past the number of combo points that you need, and then you're going, oh my god, I've got to like spend and regenerate, and then it's going to have more crits going in, it's going to be more random, and you might miss that window entirely. So it's a little bit frustrating. I think it's a very cool idea, but it might be a little bit awkward to use is the only concern. The conduit for this is called Reverberation. That will increase Echoing Reprimand's damage by 50%. That scales up to 120%, so it's a good extra chunk of damage. It's going to hit pretty hard. It's arcane damage, so it bypasses armor. So it'll be a good damaging ability in of itself. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It could be a little awkward to use. With a Night Fae, this one's nuts. This one's freaking nuts. Anyway, their signature ability first is Soul Shape. 1.5 minute cooldown, gives you a 12-second buff that will turn you into a Vulpin. You will instantly teleport 15 yards forward, and you get 50% move speed for those 12 seconds. And then you can also reactivate the button. It turns into Flicker, which is that 15-yard blink. You can reactivate the blink a few times, every 4 seconds while you're in the buff. The buff does last indefinitely in a resting area, so you can be a sparkly fox rogue. One thing that's awkward about it is it doesn't work with stealth. It doesn't work with stealth. So if I'm in stealth and I activate this, it does knock me out of stealth. If I'm the Vulpin and I turn on stealth, it does remove the Vulpin form entirely. So a little bit clunky to use, but it could be it's a good burst of mobility. Could be useful for chasing people down an arena or whatever. So it's certainly it's there. It's not too bad. Where it gets nuts though, this one is nuts, guys. Sepsis, 1.5 minute cooldown. You infect the target's blood, doing 1,700, 1,800-ish nature damage over 10 seconds. If the target survives, it will like proc, and it will do an additional 4,175 damage, and you vanish for free. If the target dies, it reduces the cooldown by 60 seconds, which is, it's fine if they die with sepsis on them. So obviously, let's talk about the second part first, the less nuts part. So obviously, if you in solo content, if you vanish, you're gonna drop combat with the mobs. They're gonna reset and heal to full. So that's not good, right? So you want to use this as like an execute type thing in solo content and just be really careful that stuff's not going to die. But hey, it's an extra, like it's a chunky dot over 10 seconds. It's chunky enough, not too bad. So it's sort of an extra dot on a very, very short cooldown as an execute type thing for some solo play. It's really in group play and like PvP and in raids and Mythic Plus where this becomes insane, going with the first thing, which is actually letting it go the full duration, because then it's going to proc. It does like that's a big chunk of damage. Like total, that's doing about 6,000 damage for the whole ability, which is a ton. That's a butt ton. Again, like a 5-point in Venom is doing 1,300. This does a ton of damage, but then the free Vanish is absolutely nuts. I'm going to skip ahead slightly. I wanted to show you this. This is returning. You've seen this legendary before. If you played Legion, this is the Mark of the Master Assassin. I mean, like, Master Assassin, your talent is based off this. And by the way, the Legendary invalidates the talent. Is really dumb. But anyway, this gives you 100% crit strike chance for 5 seconds after you break stealth, and while stealth is active. So here's the thing. In your opener, I'm not sure how to perfectly line this up, right? But in an ideal sort of perfect world, which might be a bit too perfect, but let's say that we open up, like, we put the Vendetta on the target, right? We're coming out of stealth, and we're going to do a Sepsis on pull as well. So we're going to get 5 seconds of 100% crit chance because we're going to open from stealth. So we got 5 seconds of 100% crit. We could then Vanish and get another 5 seconds of 100% crit, and then the 10-second Sepsis buff would expire, and we get another 5 seconds of 100% crit. Or maybe the easier thing to do, like the more reliable way to do it, would be to like just open from stealth, get the 5 seconds, put Sepsis on as soon as you can, and then Vanish once the buff drops after Sepsis. But in other words, with this ability, I'm pretty sure if you sync this up with Vendetta, you should relatively consistently. Let's play it safe here, and let's not make it too perfect. Let's say you're gonna get at least like 13 seconds of 100% crit for your Vendetta. It's like it's a full-on extra Vanish. It's an extra access to ambush, an extra refresh of this buff. In a perfect world, you could get 15 seconds of 100% crit during your Vendetta, thanks to the extra Vanish on this, up from the 10 seconds that you get with your regular stealth opener and Vanish, which is pretty insane. So I think this looks really, really damn strong. And obviously in PvP, getting extra Vanishes is amazing. You know, you vanish from sight, which is useful in of itself, and it gives you access to saps and cheap shots to the damage, etc. So yeah, this one is pretty huge, I think, for Assassination Rogue. I also assume that, it's doing nature damage, right? So I assume it probably gets buffed by... In fact, let's test it out. Will it get buffed by Shiv? Let's fire it off here. Hopefully it hits. There we go. I'm going to Shiv him now, so that Shiv should be there. That's kind of curious. So the Sepsis dot... We'll see how much damage the Sepsis dot does. Actually, I should make sure to stay in combat. I'm going to keep meleeing him. There we go. We actually got our Vanish. Okay, the Vanish, as you see, reset the combat thing. It's a little annoying. Hopefully that worked. Oh, it didn't work properly. The Sepsis dot, though, just did 2,100 damage. So that's a lot of damage. That's more than it's supposed to do. So it looks like it is boosted by Shiv. Sepsis itself, it said only did 100 damage. I don't know. It got a bit weird because the Vanish drop combat. That sucks. It does appear that it's boosted by Shiv, which makes this even more insane. So, yeah, I think that's looking really good. The Conduit is called Septic Shock. It's going to increase the periodic damage of Sepsis by 50%, reducing by 10% each time it deals damage. Now, when that scales up, it gets really good. It's going to do 190%, and then it's going to go down to like 180%, 170%, 160%. So that's going to be, again, it's going to do a monstrous amount of damage. I think this looks insane. This looks insane for the Assassination Rogue. Just so much single target burst in this. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to give that one up as Assassination. That just seems so good. With the Venthyr, then, let's see what the Venthyr can bring instead. Door of Shadows is their signature. 1 minute cooldown. 1.5 second cast. 35-yard range teleport. Pretty cool. I mean, you already have a teleport type thing with Shadow Step as a rogue, and you can obviously stealth past mobs. You don't need to teleport past them. I think it's still useful. It's still a big, mobility cooldown. So it may see some use for sure. Not as useful as it would be on something like a Paladin, for example, but it's still pretty solid. Then their Covenant ability is a weird one, but has some really dirty interactions for the Assassination Rogue. It's called Slaughter. I feel like this, much like Condemn replaces Execute for the Warrior, I feel like this should probably replace Ambush. So it costs 50 energy, gives you 2 combo points, and you'll slaughter the target. You'll do 1,270 physical damage. So if you look at Ambush, 50 energy, 2 combo points, 1,270 physical damage. So it's identical in that. It's the extra effect it does that makes it more interesting. And the Conduit is where it gets really good. So this will mix the target's anima with your lethal poison, coating your weapons for the next 5 minutes, with Slaughter Poison, which will do shadow damage over 12 seconds and steal 50% of healing done to the target. Putting it more simply, This will replace your active lethal poison, either wound poison or deadly poison, with a 5-minute poison called Slaughter Poison. And Slaughter Poison, it has this exact same damage, much like this has the same damage as Ambush. It's exactly the same as Deadly Poison, which is more relevant for the other rogue specs, which have Instant Poison, which is weaker. But it's just the exact same damage as Deadly Poison, but it then gives you a Wound Poison-esque effect on top of that, stealing 15% of healing done to the target. So it's kind of like an extra, healing steal thing on top of your Deadly Poison. If you're using Wound Poison, it's a little bit more of a question mark, in the sense that Wound Poison, it's kind of if you can stack that up multiple times on the same target, that's 40% reduced healing, whereas this is only 15%, but obviously that healing goes to the rogue as well. So it's going to be a bit of a toss-up, whether or not it's worth it, I guess. You might prefer just to lower the healing they're going to receive. But maybe like the extra damage you're obviously going to get, this is going to do a lot more damage, right, than the Wound Poison will, because it's the Deadly Poison damage. Maybe it's going to be worth it, and obviously it's going to make you, the rogue, very tanky as well, because you're going to be getting healed for 15% of whatever your target is. Really very good in Arena. The healing thing, not so useful in PvE. Where this does get useful in PvE, apart from being, let me actually show it to you, the attack, right? Boom, really cool effect, and you get these cool glowing red blades. Like, it's badass. Where this actually gets useful in PvE, because in PvE you're going, wait, it does the same damage as Ambush, and I get Deadly Poison and some healing steal thing? Like, most raid bosses don't heal themselves, like, whatever, like, it's useless. It's just a cool visual effect. Well, no, not actually true, because of the Conduit. Slaughter's Scars. Slaughter's damage and critical strike chance are increased by 12%. That goes up to 40%. So it's just straight up, it's 40% more damage in crit than Ambush. On top of that, the bonuses are increased by 100% if Slaughter Poison is active. So I believe, this seems kind of crazy to me, but I believe it's going to give you 80% more damage and crit strike chance on your Slaughter. Okay, you're only going to use that from stealth or when you vanish. Well, no, you're not, because it also, again, why I say I should probably replace Ambush, it works with Blindside. We'll see if we can get Blindside to proc. It might take a while because we're not in Execute. Okay, we've done, what, 3 ambushes now? 4? 5 should be the statistical average. Here we go. Oh, no luck. We're cursed. Make it 6. How about 7? 7. Nothing. All right. Let's go. You know what? I'm going to put bleeds on these so I've got more energy. This is pretty slow here. Let's go. Come on. Need like 8. There we are. Look at this. So I can actually slaughter in combat with Blindside. I think this could be insane for Assassination Rogue. This could be insane because the Slaughter itself is going to hit so damn hard. Like, that hits damn hard. Damn hard. It's hitting as hard as an Ambush. So again, compared to a Mutilate, it's doing more than twice the damage by default. And then increase that more than twice the damage by an additional 80%. And it's a guaranteed crit. So it's like a guaranteed 3 combo points. And you can proc this very regularly. 40% chance every Mutilate to proc this for free. A free cast of this in Execute, like below 35% health. That's kind of insane. So yeah, obviously not that useful for PvP because they're not going to be that low on life that often. You'd probably rather Sepsis, but for PvE, I think this could be actually incredibly good. Again, look, it's terrible without the Conduit. It's rubbish, but with the Conduit, and with Blindside, it becomes kind of nuts. Like I said, I think that maybe they just don't have it replace Ambush because you might not want Slaughter Poison. You might prefer to have Wound Poison. But I don't know. Like, it's just a better version of Deadly Poison. So I don't really know what the deal is. It probably should just replace Ambush. Maybe it's a coding thing. I don't know. Yeah, maybe they just want you to have the flexibility, and you'll just like replace Ambush on your bar with this. Obviously, it's kind of clunky for me because I'm using all the Covenants and I'd have to switch the things. But I guess if you're just part of the event here, you just put it on your bar instead of Ambush if that's what you want to be fine. Anyway, let's look at the final Covenant here, which is the Necrolords. Their signature ability is Fleshcraft. You channel for 4 seconds on a 2-minute cooldown to generate a shield that will absorb up to 20% of your maximum health, and that shield does last for 2 minutes. If you channel near corpses, you claim their essence to make the shield more powerful. It can be up to 50% of your maximum health, so quite nice. It's certainly in Mythic Plus as an extra chunky shield to channel between mob packs. Or just like an extra defensive, like sometimes in Arena or Raids, it'll only be 20% health. You have to channel, but maybe could be useful. Excuse me. The Covenant ability then is very cool. This is called Serrated Bone Spike. So this has 3 charges with a 30-second recharge, and you embed. It costs only 10 energy, gives a combo point. You you embed a bone spike in the target, doing about 800 bleed damage every 2.8 seconds until they die. A permanent dot. It will do 800 damage and generate 1 combo point per active bone spike. And yeah, refunds charges when a target dies or is healed to full. So if I throw it on this first guy, bonk, it did, well, less damage, I guess, straight up front. It did 500 damage when it hit, but it's just put a permanent bleed on him. It generated 1 combo point. Now I fire this off. Boom. Now I've got 2. I've got 2 bleeds, and it gave me 2 combo points. If I fire it at this guy, well, let me actually spend my combo points here. If I fired at this guy, I'm going to get 3 combo points, and he parried it somehow. This target dummy with no arms. He's a parrying legend. Let's throw the spike from behind. Fuck's sake. Ruining my thing. So yeah, it's also, as you can see, it's doing extra damage as well, right? It's doing extra damage. You can see that when I bone spiked him, there was an attack that came from these other bone spikes that hit him and did more damage. I'm not sure if that's working as intended, but it does a lot of damage. It does a lot of damage. So let's wait for the cooldown to come back real fast. In fact, if I talk to her, I think she can just give me all the cool. Yeah, and it leaves the dot on them. Let's assume we can. Let's assume we have 3 up and we hit the 4th person. So if I'm at like 10k damage right now, I'll wait for it to tick. It's not ticking. Oh, we broke it. We broke it. Reset the data. Oh, we just break this? I think we just broke this. Oh, it's ticking up fast. Okay. If I hit him with this, that just did a massive chunk of damage. Like right there, that just hit so hard. All of those bone spikes hitting the target. Kind of nuts. Boom, boom. Okay, that did crazy damage. I don't think it's supposed to do that much. But anyway, yeah. The more of these you have out, it's just going to like go between all the targets and do crazy damage. This guy is so pissed off. We're not going to drop combat with him. But yeah, permanent dot. This is really good. Obviously, this is insanely good. It's a lot of combo point generation. It does a ton of damage. Another thing to sort of multi-dot. I'll say I feel like it's a little bit clunky with Assassination, because I already feel like you're managing quite a lot as Assassination. You know, multi-dotting with your Garrotes and your Ruptures, maintaining your Slice and Dice. Having to juggle a serrated bone spike as well is a little bit of work, but as you can see, the payoff is absolutely huge. It's going to do really good damage by itself. I presume the bleed damage probably will get buffed up by your mastery as well, which increases the damage of your bleeds. So it's going to do lots of damage by itself. You know, if you got multiple targets, it's going to do way more damage. It's going to give you loads of combo points. In a pure single target situation, you know, like pure single target, it's just it's a very cheap combo point generator. That's all it is. It's a very cheap combo point generator that does decent damage for only 10 energy. So it's not too shabby, right? It's not too shabby. Like I fired off at him. Bam, it gave me 2 combo points because there's 1 on him already on top of the 1 it generates. And yeah, it's not bad. 2 combo points for 10 energy. Solid enough, right? On the recharge. It's fine. So this is really, pretty good. And then the Conduit will make the bleed have a chance to do damage a second time, 3% up to 10%. So just, you know, at max rank there, it's like 10% more damage from the damage over time portion, which is, again, pretty substantial. And if that does scale up well with your mastery, I think that could add up to a nice extra chunk of damage, like especially in something like a council fight. If you're fighting a boss where there's like 2 enemies or 3 enemies that are alive for a long time, that's going to do a ton of damage. So yeah, really, really good. And there are the Covenants for the Rogue. I think you got some pretty tough choices there. Like the Kyrian one is certainly interesting with the Echoing Reprimand. I think it's cool. I like the idea of what they've done, but I'm not all that attracted to it. I think I'd probably skip that one. I think for Assassination, Sepsis looks absolutely nuts. It does a butt ton of burst damage by itself and putting you into Vanish and triggering, you know, your Legendary, or at the very least triggering the Master Assassin talents for free. And syncing that up with your Vendetta is, I think, absolutely nuts. That's going to be a massive burst damage cooldown. So that looks very powerful, and obviously free Vanish in PvP has a number of uses as well. The Venthyr with their Slaughter Poison, I think, has particular synergies with Blindside, so long as you run the Conduit. And that, again, could become very, very, very nice in PvE with Blindside for some really good burst damage, even for PvP, you know, because it's still a 20% chance, even if they're not low on health. It could be very good for some consistent damage output, some like consistent mini bursts, and some really, really good execute damage with the Blindside talents. I think that one's looking pretty interesting. And then, of course, you've got the Necrolord with the Bone Spike for a consistent bleed damage, very good damage in cleave and multi-target, and just a very cheap combo point generator, even in single target, that does solid damage. So it's a tough choice. I really don't know which one to pick as the rogue. I really don't know. I think the question will come down to how much you care about the other rogue specs, because sepsis is insane for assassination. I don't think it's as good for the other rogue specs. If you're an assassin only player, you might just go Night Fae. If you care about the other rogue specs, you might go more towards the Necrolords. And again, yeah, so it's an interesting question. Or again, if you're assassination only, also like blindside, it might turn out to be insane. Tough decision, tough decision. There you go. There are the covenants. For the Assassination Rogue, then, there are 8 legendaries you can use. Obviously, you can only equip 1 at a time at the start of Shadowlands. There's 4 general legendaries available for all of the rogue specs, and then there's 4 assassination-specific ones. Looking at the general ones first, the first one is called the Essence of Bloodfang. Your combo point generators have a chance to infect the target with Bloodfang, causing 400 bleed damage over 6 seconds, and healing the rogue for 66 every time it deals damage. So this one, it seems relatively decent. It's very passive, but could be okay. I mean, presumably the bleed damage could scale up with your mastery, doing your bleeds doing more damage. A little bit of healing as well could be, you know, kind of decent. Could work decently well, I suppose, in AoE if you can spread that with Fan of Knives. So it's a okay option. However, option number 2 is where things are obviously insane for assassination. It is the Mark of the Master Assassin. Obviously, I think it was by far the best legendary in Legion, and it has returned. While stealth is active, and for 5 seconds after breaking stealth, your critical strike chance is increased by 100%. So this is so unbelievably good for assassination, because it just supercharges your damage with Seal Fate. Like, with a 100% crit chance, Mutilate generates 4 combo points. So you can just... your rotation just flows so well. Your burst becomes insane. And obviously, you are a massive single target burst class with Vendetta on a 2-minute cooldown. Vanish gives you stealth on a 2-minute cooldown. So you can Vendetta someone. You open up on them with a Vendetta out of stealth. And then 5 seconds into that, you vanish. And for the first 10 seconds of Vendetta, you have 100% crit chance. You were probably already playing like this with your Master Assassin talents in BFA, right? Which is obviously based off that legendary. Now you can have both. Obviously, you wouldn't want both. This ring, in this case, is on a ring. The legendary makes the talent useless because, I mean, you've got 100% crit chance. What's the point in having an extra 50%? You can't double crit in this game. So you'd obviously be moving into Night Stalker or probably Subterfuge, but it opens up Subterfuge while also having the Master Assassin gameplay, which is good. But I suspect that this legendary might be just so damn strong that you won't run any of the other ones. I mean, we'll see with the tuning, but it's unbelievably strong for assassination, so I wouldn't be shocked. And obviously we did discuss in the Night Fae section, because their Covenant ability, Sepsis, that also gives you a free vanish on a 1.5 minute cooldown. So you could delay that by half a minute and sync that up with Vendetta, and you could potentially get, you know, with opening from stealth, with a Sepsis vanish, with your normal vanish, you could have 15 seconds of 100% crit chance during Vendetta. That is... I don't even want to think about how much damage that is. That's a lot of damage. All right, anyway, Tiny Toxic Blades is next. Shiv causes your poisons and bleeds on the target to spread to a nearby enemy. I find it really difficult, I'm going to be honest with you, to discuss these other legendaries, because Mark of the Master Assassin is just so damn good. I guess the point of this might be, I think this is more of a PvP thing, I suppose. You know, like in Arena, in a 3s arena, you can dot somebody up, and then like for target swapping, or if they're stacking near their healer or whatever, it's easy to spread that and to just get more spread pressure would be my thought. I don't know. I think it's okay. I don't know if it's that difficult though to multi-dot with your bleeds onto like whatever. It's gonna save you casting like a Rupture and a Garrote on another target, which is kind of nice, but I don't know if it's that really as useful as Mark the Master Assassin. I'm not particularly seeing it. Invigorating Shadow Dust. Invigorating Shadow Dust is next. Vanish will reduce the remaining cooldown of your other abilities by 15 seconds. So I think this one could have some uses. I think this is, again, more of a PvP thing. It could definitely be good for that, though. It could definitely be good. Like, just reducing the utility, like getting blind cooldown reduced, reducing the cooldown of Shadow Step, like of Sprint. It would reduce the cooldown of Shiv as well. That I presume it reduce the cooldown of Kick, Cheap Shot, all that stuff. Like your Cloak of Shadows, etc. Vendetta as well. Like, yeah, I think it's more for the utility reducing effects for PvP. That could be kind of nice to get more crowd control out. It might be good again in PvE. Like, the numbers will say, but I don't know if it's gonna be better than this. For the assassination specific ones, then First one you have is called the Dashing Scoundrel. Envenom will also increase the critical strike chance of your poisons by 30%, and their critical strikes will generate 2 energy. So that's, it's very passive, but I think it's relatively fun in the sense it's just going to give you more energy flow. So again, we'll see what the number tuning ends up being on this one, but I think it's, I think it's relatively reasonable. It's just going to give you a lot more energy and let you spam a bit more, and spamming a bit more is pretty nice. Doomblade is next. Mutilate will do an additional 20% bleed damage over 3 seconds, and Envenom damage will be increased by 5% for each bleed you have on a target. So this one is reasonably okay. It's reasonably okay. Obviously, it's not much use in AoE because you're going to be doing Fan of Knives instead of Mutilate. So this is more of like a small cleave or single target situation. 20% more damage from Mutilate. It's a relatively decent buff. And Envenom doing a bit more damage, it's a relatively decent thing. Obviously, I think you're not really going to change your rotation. It's just a passive damage increase. But it's fine. I think it's fine. Not too exciting, though. The next one is Dustwalker's Patch. The remaining cooldown on Vendetta is reduced by 1 second for every 65 energy you expend. I don't think this is going to be that good. Maybe for some situations in PvP. I think in PvE, like, even if you're not going to run the Mark of the Master Assassin, like, Master Assassin itself is still really good. I guess this could be good for, like, maybe for dungeons, maybe, but then again, you can re-stealth so often in dungeons, so I don't know. But like in dungeons, you could be running like a subterfuge thing and multi-dotting with Garrote and just get Vendetta up more often. Again, like, we'll see what the tuning is. It's just going to let you Vendetta more often. It's pretty straightforward. You need to spend quite a lot of energy for each bit of cooldown reduction. And most importantly, it does desync the Vendetta from Vanish, which if you're going to run Master Assassin makes it worse. Or if, you want the Subterfuge boosted Garrote to sync up with that, it makes it worse as well. So definitely a question mark there in terms of desyncing it from other stuff. But it might be nice. We'll see. And then you have, finally, the Zaldic Insignia, which will make your poisons and bleeds do 30% increased damage to targets below 30% health. So I think this one is quite fun because it has an actual purpose, more so than some of the other ones where this ups your execute damage. So you could be looking at this and going like, okay, if I run as the Venthyr with Slaughter, and I run with a Conduit that really massively increases its damage, I run with Blindside where I'm getting these free slaughters in execute, and then I'm running with the Zaldic Insignia where I'm doing just more damage in execute. I could really focus on execute damage as that Assassination Rogue, and that could be a very cool little niche for me to provide to my team. That's like just more consistent damage in the execute phase. It might be going like, okay, I don't really care about burst damage on pull all that much. For this particular boss, we really, really want to just focus on execute and killing them off towards the end. That's what we care about. So in that case, this could be pretty nice. So this one sort of stands out. So yeah, they're the legendaries for the Assassination Rogue. Like I said, I feel like the Zaldic Insignia has some potential with Blindside, and particularly with the Venthyr boosting Blindside up even more to focus on execute. The other ones, like, they're not terrible. These are, there's a few that are a little bit passive. That are maybe a little bit boring, maybe have some more niche uses for PvP. The big issue is that I think that Mark of the Master Assassin really does overshadow all of these for the Assassination Rogue, or the Assassination Rogue. It's just a teeny tiny bit too strong, I think. So most likely you're going to be using this one, which is also fine because it'll be very useful for the other rogue specs too. So you can multi-spec as the rogue with this fairly stress-free. So yeah, they're the legendary. For your conduits as an Assassination Rogue, these will slot into your soulbind tree, and you should see an example of a soulbind tree in the background and the sort of path you could take through your soulbind tree. There are slots in the tree that you can put in these conduits. There's endurance slots, which are going to boost survivability, finesse slots, which will boost utility, and potency slots, which boost damage. Let's look at the endurance slots first. You've got 3 options here. Cloaked in Shadows is the first one. Entering stealth cloaks you in shadows, absorbing 10% of your maximum health and damage, reduced by 2 seconds every second you spend outside of stealth. So that goes up to 24% more max health, which is, I think, pretty nice, right? So this is a nice little perk for Mythic Plus. You're going to get a 24% HP shield going into the start of every single fight. Whenever you vanish, you're going to get a big shield as well. So I think that's wonderful for Mythic Plus. I think that's also very nice for PvP. Whenever you're able to re-stealth in PvP, it's a big defensive benefit. So I think this one is actually very, very strong. The next one is Nimble Fingers. That reduces the energy cost of Feint and Crimson Vial by 5. Goes up to 20. So it will lower Feint's cost down to just 15 energy. And Crimson Vial actually becomes free. with this at max rank. So that's a kind of a nice little perk. I don't know if that's good enough to bother wasting this on, because like Crimson Vial's a long cooldown and Feint is a 15-second cooldown as well. So like it will save you some energy, but I think it's relatively simple to have enough energy to use these abilities when you want to. But it might be okay. I think the other ones kind of look a lot better though. Then finally we have Recuperator, which doesn't have any rank scaling right now. So that's obviously a bug. That's still to come. But whether this is the max rank or the lowest rank, Slice and Dice heals you for up to 18% of your maximum health over 36 seconds. So I think this one is actually really, really good. Again, I don't know if this is like its maximum rank or the bottom rank. Either way, though, this was very powerful. There used to be a finishing move called Recuperate, which is very, very good for PvP back in the day. It's just a lot of passive healing just constantly trickling for you as the rogue. That's wonderful for solo play. And it's just very constant healing to help keep you alive during raid fights, during Mythic Plus, in Arena. And you're going to get this for free just with your Slice and Dice now. So I expect this one to actually be quite solid. It's probably going to end up being much better than it sounds. So yeah, that one looks really good. For your Finesse Conduits, there are 4. Fade to Nothing is the first one. Gaining Stealth, Vanish, or Shroud of Concealment increases movement speed by 10% for 3 seconds. That goes up to 25% increased movement speed. So I think it's relatively decent. This doesn't jump out to me as being something that you'd be rushing out to take over the other conduits, though. Prepared for All is next. Dodging attacks reduces the remaining cooldown of evasion by 1 second. Successful interrupts with kicks reduce the remaining cooldown of Cloak of Shadows by, I'm not sure, maybe by 2 seconds? Mate, let's presume it's just by 1 second as well. It's the tooltip there is a little bit weird. This starts at 1 second, actually scales up to 4 seconds of cooldown reduction. So I think this one is very, very, very nice. This one is quite fun. So certainly for solo play and for PvP, getting that cooldown reduction on evasion with the dodges could end up being like pretty solid to get more evasions out in an arena match, or just be a lot safer doing Torghast. That could be quite good. Reducing Cloak of Shadows with kicks, that's really good for Mythic Plus, and also of course for Arena, right? Because you're going to be wanting to maximize your kick, and getting an extra Cloak of Shadows out in a match might be the thing that changes the match. This might not be something you run all the time, for sure, but it could be very good in some circumstances. We'll have to see. The next one is called Quick Decisions for Assassination. This will reduce Shadow Step's cooldown and increase its maximum range by 12%. That goes up to 40%. So this one I think is excellent for PvP in particular. For Arena, the extra range on Shadow Step is going to open up even more potential for some really nasty swaps in Arena. And obviously the reduced cooldown works with that as well. I think this isn't all that useful for PvE. I don't think you particularly care in PvE, but certainly in Arena for target swapping, I think this one looks really, really good. And then finally, Rushed Setup. The energy cost of Kidney Shot, Cheap Shot, Sap, and Distract are reduced by 10%. That goes up to 45% reduced cost for these. This also, I think this one is not the most exciting. Like, maybe it ends up being good. It will give you more energy to burst someone in a Kidney Shot. So that might be the difference between securing a kill or not. So I think that's maybe the main appeal. Is vanish, you sap vanish, sap their healer, and then drop a kidney on one of their characters and try to kill them. You have a lot of energy saved overall from this, so maybe it's useful, maybe not. For PvE, I think you definitely skip this one. But yeah, it's obviously there. It's kind of cool. For Assassination Potency Conduits, then, there are 4. Lethal Poisons is the first one that will increase the non-periodic damage of your lethal poisons by 30%. That goes up to 100% more damage from the non-periodic effects, so whenever it procs from you actually attacking. So that's kind of nice. If you manage your Envenom uptime properly, you're going to get rewarded from more damage with this, though it is it's relatively passive. It's not all that interesting. It does have some decent synergy with the Master Poisoner talent, which obviously gives you 30% increased damage from your poisons. You could stack the two of these up together to be relatively good in a relatively passive and non-interactive way. Maim Mangle is next. Garrote will increase the damage of your Mutilate on the target by 20%. That goes up to 60% more damage from Mutilate. So this one is interesting. I feel like, especially if you have Subterfuge, where you want to probably open from Stealth with Garrote, a multi-dot with Garrote, or even just in single target, you open with Garrote from Stealth. I think that would definitely push Mutilate to being used instead of Ambush. That kind of pushes Ambush almost entirely out of the rotation, because Mutilate will do almost as much damage as Ambush, but have a chance to generate more combo points. So kind of, I think it's okay. Whatever, this is a purely single target thing, just more damage from your Mutilate. You're gonna have Garrote on the target all the time. It's just more damage from Mutilate, which is fine. It's not particularly exciting, and it's useless in AoE, so it's only okay. Poison Guitar is next. Fan of Knives damage is increased by 8% and has an 8% increased poison application chance. This goes up to 36%. So this is really the opposite of the previous Conduit. This one is entirely useless in single target and is only useful for AoE. So yeah, I mean, like, you put the two of these two conduits, like, it's just, I'm not a big fan of these two conduits, like, right beside each other, because you're gonna have to set up one soulbind tree for single target with maim mangle, and then you're gonna have to set up another path in your soulbind tree with poison guitar if you're gonna be doing like lots of mythic plus, because that may be worthwhile. I mean, possibly poison guitar will just be so weak that you won't even need to run it. I don't know. But yeah, it's just, for me, that's a little bit annoying, that to have like a pure single target thing and a pure AoE thing. I feel like that's a bit of a weakness of the Assassination Rogue already. But anyway, yeah, there you go. It's a conduit anyway that will boost your AoE damage if you want a conduit that purely does that. And finally, we have Well-Placed Steel. Shiv's damage is increased by 100 on bleeding targets and extends the duration of your Envenom by 1 second. That goes up to 3 seconds. So I guess I see the idea of what they're doing here, because it extends the duration of Envenom. Like, Envenom is lasting 6 seconds by default. The Shiv is giving you a 9-second buff. So increasing Envenom by 3 seconds is going to make Envenom last 9 seconds. So it makes the 9-second Envenom buff mostly sync up with the 9-second Shiv buff. So I get that. I don't think it's that good, though. I think you really want to be planning to do 2 Envenoms within the Shiv to maximize the actual direct nature damage the Envenom does. Like, that's mostly what you want to be doing, I think. So I don't think it's actually going to be that useful in that sense. And like, what are you going to do with a 9-second Envenom? Like, that's a bit too long. It's very unlikely that you're not going to override it with another Envenom in that Shiv window. So I think this conduit's actually pretty underwhelming. But there you are. They are the conduits for the Rogue. I certainly think you got some very interesting endurance choices and some interesting finesse ones as well. I feel like the potency conduits for Assassination Rogue are a little, they're quite underwhelming. They're either quite bland, or they're, it's the dichotomy between that pure single target and pure AoE. So I feel like the conduits, unfortunately, the potency ones are more of a hassle than a benefit for using Assassination Rogue, I'm sorry to say. Well, there you are, guys. They're all the different parts of the Assassination Rogue on Shadowlands. What do I think? Is the spec fun? How's it doing? Well, I mean, I suspect if you're already an Assassination Rogue fan, or you have been an Assassination Rogue fan in any point in really the last 4 years, or even longer than that probably, you probably already have a very good idea of how this plays, because this spec really has not changed very much at all. It is really very, very much almost the exact same. It's almost the exact same, which is kind of hilarious. Yeah, they haven't done a lot to change the spec. Not much at all. I think definitely one of the big things you'll notice coming from BFA is the loss of your Azerite traits, in particular for AoE. So you're going to be losing, oh my goodness, I can't think of the name of it now. I'm such an idiot. The one that made your Garrote really powerful when it was used from stealth. Shrouded Suffocation? I think it was Shrouded Suffocation. So you're going to notice that you're losing that. And obviously you're going to notice losing Echoing Blades in AoE as well if you're running that too. So that's going to hurt a little bit, but I do think that the target caps are kind of helpful in a sense for Assassination Rogue, because, yeah, if there are going to be smaller AoE pulls, which is, okay, to be fair, still a bit of a question mark, but presuming you're running with more of a melee comp, and maybe they're going to be more smaller pulls, more focused on like the 5 to 8 target mark, I think that sort of helps you with your multi-dotting, because, whereas other classes could go in and just start blasting AoE on like 10 targets, you can't really do that as much as Assassination Rogue. So yeah, being able to do smaller pulls and focus more on putting dots on smaller numbers of mobs, that sort of helps you, I think. But yeah, I definitely have fun playing the spec. I really enjoy playing the spec. There's a couple of very exciting things for you in Shadowlands, which is something to hold on to, because for the most part, you're very unchanged. Obviously, it's disappointing with the talent tree to see almost no changes. Like, Alacrity coming in is nice, it's very good, but it's very, bland and probably takes over that talent tier. But the one that's very appealing to me was Blindside. Blindside is super cool. Getting the procs of Ambush feels wonderful, and getting even more procs in Execute feels really, really good. Because Ambush does a good chunk of damage, but also gives you 2 combo points. So that really, it's a very nice perk to the flow of your spec. It feels wonderful. So that's an absolute standout. The only downside really is that it's pretty much the only standout in what's otherwise a fairly dull and pretty weak talent tree. Which is especially disappointing. Well, I guess, because about half the talent tree is like generic utility stuff, which I think is fine. It's just quite disappointing that they haven't really managed to make the actual 3 rows that focus more on damage and changing up your playstyle, that they've been so underwhelming. So, hey, well, I mean, I guess at least you've got one talent in there, the new Blindside, that actually feels really good. But yeah, I definitely then returning the Mark of the Master Assassin returning. That's obviously super powerful as well. Likely to be your best legendary, I think, for nearly all sorts of content. And that has amazing synergies with Sepsis. Sepsis for the Night Fae looks insane. Or then even the Venthyr, the Slaughter poison, with its Conduit, which massively ups the damage of the Slaughter attack. And then because Blindside can proc that Slaughter attack, much like it procs Ambush for free attacks, that could be very powerful as well. Or then even like setting aside those sort of assassination-specific synergies, the Necrolords, their Bone Spike is still a very fun Covenant ability. It does lots of damage. It's great for like, it probably even synergizes with your Mastery, with your Bleeds. But it's great for multi-dotting. It gives you, it's a fun source of damage. It looks cool. So you do actually have some pretty decent Covenant choices there, I think, for the Assassination Rogue. So yeah, like I said, you got to hold on to these couple of changes for Assassination Rogue, because apart from that, your spec is basically the exact same as it's been for years. Your talent tree, apart from Blindside, is basically the exact same it's been for years. There's not that many interesting legendaries. They're probably overshone by Mark of the Master Assassin. So, yeah. I guess the good news is that they haven't changed the spec for a reason. It's not like when I looked at Survival Hunter and I said, I think they haven't changed the spec, this mostly unplayed spec in PvE. They just haven't touched this spec because they ran out of time. I think with Assassination Rogue, they haven't really touched the spec because it's a good spec. People enjoy playing it. It tends to be useful quite often. And yeah, certainly for me playing it, I had a lot of fun. Oh, I actually didn't mention Slice and Dice coming back. I actually like it. I actually like Slice and Dice coming back. It's a little bit awkward in your opener. If you're trying to do like a big Vendetta opener, that's a little bit awkward. But outside of that, I think it's a welcome addition. I actually kind of like the extra thing to manage. It's not too bad being like a 36-second thing to refresh. That's not bad to manage. And I think it's actually kind of enjoyable. I quite like the extra quick attack speed as well. I think it's badass with the daggers and proccing more poisons. I quite like that. So yeah. It's Assassination Rogue. It's a solid spec. It's a fun spec. It's a good spec. But it is essentially the exact same spec that you've been playing for years. So yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that video was helpful, and I will see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.